On the 6th of August, 1945, this man survived an atomic bomb. 3 days later, he survived a second one. 2 atomic bombs, 2 cities, one man standing beneath both of them. It sounds impossible. It is also completely true, and almost no one knows his name. His name was Tsutomu Yamaguchi, and in the summer of 1945, he was nobody at all. Just a young engineer, far from home, counting the days until he could hold his wife and baby son again. He designed oil tankers for Mitsubishi. That summer, the company sent him on a long business trip to a city he barely knew, a city called Hiroshima. The 6th of August was meant to be his last day there. His bags packed, his train ticket home already in his pocket. He was walking to the shipyard for one final morning of work. It was a clear, bright summer morning. He heard the faint drone of a single aircraft, high overhead. He barely looked up, and then the sky tore open. Imagine it just for a moment. A flash of white light, brighter than the sun, swallows the whole world. You are lifted off the ground and hurled through the air, and then nothing. When Yamaguchi came to, he was lying in a field. His eardrums were torn. His skin was burned. The bright morning had become a black, boiling cloud. He was less than 2 miles from the center of the first atomic bomb ever dropped on a city. And somehow, he was alive. Around him, Hiroshima was simply gone. Tens of thousands of people had died in a single instant, and he had lived. A fact that would feel less like luck and more like a debt for the rest of his life. He rose and stumbled through a silence where a city used to be, toward a shelter where he spent the longest night of his life. He was burned, half deaf, and in shock. But one thought would not let him rest. Get home. Get back to his wife and his son. And home was a city to the south. A city called Nagasaki. Wrapped in bandages, he boarded a train crowded with the wounded and rode through the dark, away from a city that no longer existed. He was going home. He truly believed the worst was finally behind him. He reached Nagasaki. He found his wife and his son alive. He let a doctor dress his wounds. He had survived the unthinkable. And surely, the world could not be cruel enough to do it to one man twice. But the date was the 8th of August, and he had 1 day left. On the morning of the 9th, against all sense, he went back to work. Bandaged from head to chest, he stood in his Nagasaki office and tried to explain what he had seen. A single bomb, a single flash, an entire city erased. His boss called him mad. One bomb could not destroy an entire city, he said. It was impossible. He told Yamaguchi to think like the engineer he was. And at that exact moment, 2 minutes past 11, the sky outside the window tore open for the second time. The second atomic bomb had fallen on Nagasaki, and Tsutomu Yamaguchi, still wrapped in the bandages from the first, was once again less than 2 miles from its center. And once again, impossibly, he lived. His wife and his son survived as well. By an accident of timing, by a few miles, one ordinary family had lived through both of the only atomic attacks in human history. But surviving was not the end. It was the start of something slower, a war that did not know it was over. The radiation stayed inside him. His hair fell out. His wounds wept for years. In time, he would bury a son to cancer and watch his wife's health break under the poison that had rained down after the blast. The bombs did not stop killing when the war ended. They killed slowly, for decades, long after the world had looked away. And here is the strangest part of the whole story. For most of his life, Tsutomu Yamaguchi said almost nothing. He carried what may be the worst experience in human history, quietly, privately, like a secret too heavy to ever set down. He felt the dead had earned the right to be remembered, and that he had only, somehow, survived. But as he grew old, something in him changed. He watched the world keep building the very weapons that had nearly erased him, not once, but twice. And he decided that his survival had to be allowed to mean something. So at the very end of his life, he finally began to speak. He told his story to anyone who would listen. He carried his warning all the way to the United Nations, not as a hero, as a witness, as a plea. In 2009, Japan officially recognized him as the only person ever certified to have survived both atomic bombings. The following year, at the age of 93, Tsutomu Yamaguchi died in his own bed, surrounded by his family. The bombs had chased him for 65 years, and still, the man outlasted them. We kept the bombs. The blinding flash, the mushroom clouds that ended a war and opened a frightening new age. We kept the planes, the presidents, the physicists. But we lost the man who stood beneath both clouds and walked out the other side. The young engineer with a train ticket home in his pocket. The father who only wanted to see his son. And that is the lesson the history books leave out. The biggest events in human history are never really about the bombs or the armies or the numbers. They are about ordinary people, standing in the wrong place, carrying the whole weight of the world on a single, fragile life. Tsutomu Yamaguchi was an ordinary man who lived through the two worst days the world has ever made. And then the world very nearly forgot him completely. Don't. If this is the kind of history they never taught you, subscribe. There are other ordinary people the world walked right past, and their stories deserve to be told.